Do you have one of these? Do you think you need one and aren't quite sure? Let's find out if you need a passport for your next trip. Passports can be confusing if you're going on a cruise, because depending upon the cruise, the answer is yes, you do need a passport. And other cruises, absolutely you really don't. It's always a great idea to have one, but you might not have to rush out and get one for your particular trip. As your travel advisor, it is my job to make sure that you know whether or not you need a passport. If you're working with a different travel advisor and they haven't already told you whether you'll need one for your trip or not, then here's some questions that you can ask in order to help you know whether you actually need one or not. Question number 1. Are you traveling by plane to another country? If you are a U.S. citizen and you are traveling on an airplane to another country, then the answer is yes, you need a passport. Now, if you are not traveling by airplane, but you are visiting another country on a cruise, that gets a little bit more confusing as to whether you actually need that passport or not. So here's question number 2 for you to ask in order to determine whether you need a passport for your trip. Are you taking a cruise that leaves from an American port and then returns to that same American port? If so, that is called a closed loop cruise. And for a closed loop cruise from one U.S. port to the same U.S. port, you do not need a passport for that trip, even if you are visiting other countries. Chances are, if you are doing a closed loop cruise, that you are probably going to be traveling within the Caribbean or the Bahamas or to Bermuda, even through Alaska and into Hawaii. Those closed loop cruises do not require you to have a passport. Now, if you are taking an open looped cruise, and that means that you are traveling from a U.S. port and you're going one way to another port, that is a maybe. Because if you are traveling, say, from Seattle and going to Alaska and then returning to Vancouver, you could need a passport. It's important to make sure that you know your itinerary before you make that passport decision. A passport is always a great piece of identification to have with you. Even though they are not required on a closed-loop cruise, I think it's always a great idea if you have a passport to be traveling on that. So what's the alternative? If you do not have a passport, then you can travel on those closed-loop cruises just with a birth certificate and a government-issued ID. And that works for your children as well. If they do not have a passport, then you definitely need to have an original birth certificate with a stamp or a seal. No photocopies, everybody. We do need to have the original documents. You provide those for a scan at check-in, but you do need to carry the originals with you. So now that you know whether you need one or not, the question is, if you don't have one, where do you get one? How long does it take? How much does it cost? All of these things are easily found by going to the only official website that is passport issuance. There are lots out there that would be happy to take your information and take your money. Please don't go there. There are no savings. There are no easier way to get a passport than going directly to the source. So I'm going to link down below the actual official U.S. Department of State site where you can apply for a renewal or a new passport. Gives you all the information. Right now, I did check today, and they are saying it's a 4 to 6 week processing time. That doesn't include mailing time for your information to get there or for the actual passport to come back to you. So please, if you are traveling internationally, do not wait to get your passport. Passports are valid for 10 years if you are an adult. If you are getting a passport for your child under the age of 16, that passport will only be good for 5 years. And you do need to make sure you know your expiration. Passport expiration is something that I think we all don't think about until we're actually getting ready to travel. But it's really important that you know when your passport will expire. Even on a closed loop cruise, if you are traveling within 6 months of your passport's expiration, you can be denied boarding. If you are traveling to another country and you go to check in at your airline and they see that your passport is going to expire within 6 months of your return to the United States, you can be denied boarding. And that is something that actually happens. I actually have a friend who was going on a fantastic cruise, and he was heading out on his international flight at the airport, ready to check in, luggage in hand, excited for their cruise, and was denied a seat on the airplane because his passport expired within 6 months of his trip. Don't let that happen to you. Does everybody know what your expiration date is? I'm going to say no, but now it's time you definitely want to check. Passport information is just one of the services that your travel advisor should be providing for you when you book your trip. So I think that it is something that you really don't need to worry about. If you're a client of mine, I'm going to make sure that you have all of the information. If you're traveling internationally, you're going to get a link from me to the Department of State website so that you can sign up for alerts while you are out of country. There is something called the STEP program. We'll talk about that in another video, but you're going to get all of that information from me. So if you need this kind of information and you need this kind of help, hey, you know what to do. You're going to send me a comment, a DM, a text, an email at brenda@adventurewaytravels.com. We're going to get you set up for an amazing trip, and you're going to know all of this information in advance.